you very much for the warm welcome, and thanks for making it out on this difficult night, weather-wise. So, as the rabbi mentioned, for a living, when I'm not up here at an event like this pretending to be a rabbi, I'm a lawyer. I'm an attorney. I represent people who get injured in very serious accidents. I hope the only time you'll ever meet me is at a Shabbat meal or to hear one of these talks, not in my office after getting hurt, God forbid. So many years ago, I was in court in the Bronx, and I was in front of Justice Suarez, excellent judge, Hispanic judge, not a Jewish judge, and we were picking a trial date, and he said, okay, take out your calendars. I took out my old BlackBerry. He said, okay, how about, and he picked the date, it was like at the very end of May, and I looked in the BlackBerry, and I see it's a holiday. So I said, Your Honor, I can't do that day, it's a Jewish holiday. So he smiles, he says, Mr. Rothenberg, I'm not Jewish, but I've been on the bench in New York City for 30 years, and I know there's Passover in the spring, there are the high holidays in the fall. There's no holiday in between. I said, Your Honor, yes, there is. He said, what are you talking about? I said, it's Shavuos. He said, what's that? I said, well, you know on the way into court, there's that statue of the guy holding the tablets? He said, yeah, Moses? I said, yeah, Moses. So you know the story that he led the Jewish people out of Egypt, when 50 days later he went up on the mountain and he brought down the Torah. So we have a holiday, not surprisingly, to celebrate that. He said, I'm so sorry, I never heard of it. So how can it be that he was so familiar with Passover, and he was so familiar with the high holidays, and he never heard of Shavuos? No lawyer in 30 years had ever said to him, Your Honor, I can't appear that day at Shavuos. And the answer is that such an incredibly high percentage of Jews, thank God, celebrate Passover. Jewish, Jew-ish, observant and reform and conservative and reconstructionist and atheist, whatever. Yeah, of course, say we're going to have a Seder, we're going to have some matzah, and the high holidays, just in case, I don't know, I was a bad boy, I was a bad girl, it can't hurt, I'll do a few of these. Shavuos? Okay, what's Shavuos? So my theory for why that is the following. Passover, we're celebrating freedom. Freedom is when you get envelopes in the mail, and you're going through the mail, okay, and you open up an envelope, and it's a check that you weren't expecting. I just had this happen to me. I got an unexpected refund from the Department of Revenue. Because hey, fantastic. Who doesn't like a nice check? That's Pesach. It's freedom. You got a nice check. Shavuos is you open it up, and it's a bill. Not only is it a bill, but it's more than you were expecting. You're like, oh, for crying out loud, right? Who likes to get a bill? So Passover, freedom. Everybody's going to celebrate that. Shavuos, oh, by the way, here's the bill. That's okay. Send it to some guy with a big beard. I'm not interested in that one. All right. So that's a shame, and that just leads to the question: why are we so happy on Passover? Like, what was the point? Why are we getting so excited? Because we were freed. Well, if we were freed, and then we became slaves to God, so we used to be slaves to Pharaoh. Now we're slaves to God. So what is it? It's Mazel Tov because, you were on a team and your team was the worst team in the league and you got traded to the best team in the league. So now I want a better team? No. It's a better locker room. It's better uniforms. Oh, it's in a better city. I used to be playing in a cold weather city. Now I got traded to Miami or to LA. That's it? Oh no, it's a better owner. I mean, of course, who wouldn't, if you have to be a slave between Pharaoh and between God, God's a much nicer owner. But at the end of the day, if your thought is, I was a slave then, and I'm a slave now, you're missing out on something. So I want to explain to you how to frame this so you realize what it is you're missing out on by telling you this great story that I just heard from a friend. So I have a friend who is a skier. I'm not a skier, so I can't relate to this so well, but I understand the sport. So he's in Park City, very nice venue to go skiing, and he meets some fellow, I don't know, on the ski lift or in the lodge or wherever, and he's a local. Somebody says, oh, you live in, he says, yeah, I live like 20, 30 miles away. He said, what do you do for a living? The guy says, funny you should ask, I have an interesting job. I manage the nicest home in Park City. It's sold a few years ago for $40 million. This is going back, 10, 12 years now. It's an $80 million house. He says, so I manage it. So my friend says, then, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you do? He says, well, what I do is they lease a car for me. So I drive her from my house. It takes 45 minutes or so. And when I get to the house, I flush every single toilet in the house. It takes some time. It's a very big house. It's a mansion. And I change the fresh squeezed orange juice. And I replace the fruit and vegetables every single day so it'll be fresh in case the owners show up. Now, of course, I take the orange juice and fruits and vegetables from yesterday with me because it's only one day old. And I eat them at home. And my friend said, what do you do the rest of the day? He said, the rest of the day I ski. They actually get me a ski pass for the whole season, so I just ski every day. So my friend couldn't help himself. He says, sounds like a great job. What do they pay you? He says, they pay me $100,000 a year. okay? $100,000 a year, leased car, ski pass. His job is flushing the toilets and changing the orange juice and the vegetables and the fruit, okay? Not bad. So my friend says, I just have one more question, okay? How often do the owners show up? And the guy says, they bought the house 4 years ago. They have not visited yet. Not once. Not once. For 4 years, this guy has been driving on their dime, skiing on their dime, replacing the orange juice and the fruit and the vegetables every single day because the owners might decide to show up and not call ahead. Crazy. So I thought about the story, and I realized I cannot imagine that there's an owner out there, I don't care if they're a trillionaire, that would be that egomaniacal to say to somebody, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to pay you $100,000. I'm going to give you a car. I'm going to give you a ski pass. I want fresh orange juice every single day in case I decide to show up that day and not tell you. Like, who's going to say that? So it seems to me, if you want my betting money, and I feel strongly about this, the owner did not tell that to the guy. The owner probably has a personal assistant who has carte blanche to take care, to manage the owner's finances and possessions. The owner probably has who knows how many homes, right? Hasn't been there yet in 4 years. So probably they have a home in London and in the Cayman Islands and in New York City and in Paris and in who knows where else, okay? So the PA, the personal assistant, probably said, you know what, I don't know where they're going to be on any given day, and if they show up, I want it to be perfect. I know it sounds overboard, changing it every single day. The guy himself was probably like, you want me to change the fresh squeezed orange juice not every other day? Yes, every single day. Because if my boss decides to show up, I want it to be perfect. So that's the difference. When we were slaves to Pharaoh, every day, what do I want to do? I want to do whatever I want to do. I want to avoid, of course, getting beaten. So if he tells me I have to make this number of bricks, I'm going to make that number of bricks, not an extra brick. I'm not going to be careful about it. Oh, I want it to be the best brick possible for my master, the wonderful Pharaoh. Give me a break. He told me I got to make X number of bricks. I'm going to make X number of bricks, and then I'm out of here, and hopefully he won't beat me up. When God's the master, it's not, okay, what did he give me? What's my list today? 613 mitzvahs. Okay, and how many apply to me? All right, okay, I can just all right, as soon as I get done, I'm done. No. It's the exact opposite. We're like the personal assistant to that billionaire of I want to do whatever his list is, I want to do it as well as I can because that's why I'm here. I'm here to do what he wants me to do. And the best part of that relationship is that it's two-sided because he's doing the exact same thing. He is up in heaven and knows every single one of us and knows exactly what is best for us. And you, by the way, you want to know what's best for you? We know what was best for you today? Whatever happened to you today, that was best for you today. Whatever happened to you yesterday, that was best for you yesterday. Whatever's going to happen to you tomorrow, that is best for you tomorrow. Now, sometimes, I don't need to convince people, right? You have an unbelievable day. You meet the girl or guy of your dreams, you get into the school you've applied to, you get a promotion, you get a new car, and you're like, obviously, God, yes, that was meant for me, fantastic, you hit it right on the head. That's easy, right? Other times you have a horrible day, but even that horrible day is from him. So I was thinking about what story to tell to make this point yesterday when I was preparing, and God, thank God, said to me, it was clear that he was speaking right to me, you know what, instead of using an old story, I got a new story for you, okay? So I'm going to tell you something that happened yesterday, and then while this is going on, another story. So this is hot off the presses. Last night, or starting yesterday morning, my daughter, one of my daughters, decided she and her husband needed to get away, so they flew to Miami. They took a 10:30 a.m. flight out of Newark Airport. So they got to the airport at 9 in the morning, and once they got there, just before boarding, they were told there's a slight delay, there's a storm in Miami, and so they're limiting the air traffic, and so the flight has been delayed till 11 o'clock. All right, it's Miami. How long does this storm last in South Florida? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, an hour? Then the flight got delayed till 11:30, 12, 12:30, 1, 1:30, 2 o'clock they take off. So they're sitting in the airport from 9 o'clock until 2 p.m. Big time bummer. And you're not just sitting in the airport, you're missing out on that Florida sunshine. You're only going away for a few days. It gets much better. They get to Miami after being delayed all those hours, and the plane is circling the airport in Miami. Circling and circling and circling, and they can't land because of the storm, because there's still a storm going on. So the pilot announces, we're so sorry, we can't land in Miami. We're going to West Palm Beach. So they then go through a tremendous amount of turbulence, and they finally land in West Palm Beach. The captain gets back on and says, I'm so sorry about your ordeal. We need to refuel, so we'll have enough fuel. We're going to get you in the air as soon as we can. Of course, if anybody has ground transportation, you'd like to get off the plane, we understand that. You are free to leave, okay? My daughter, who at this point in time has probably like white knuckles, all right, like says to her husband, can you call the car rental company and see maybe they can let us get the car here because I don't want to stay on this plane any longer. He says, good idea. Calls the car rental company, no problem at all. Extra $30. We're going to change your reservation from Miami to West Palm Beach. Just go straight to the counter. Great. They go straight to the counter. The guy at the counter says, I don't know what you're talking about. Who told you that? We can't do that. Okay. At which point, she finally breaks the glass, okay, grabs the fire extinguisher, calls Dad, okay. Daddy, what do I do? All right. So I listen. I say, take a deep breath. I listen to the whole story. And I say, here's what you're going to do. Just rent it. Just rent a new car. You still have my credit card? Put it on my credit card. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out with the credit card company. Fine. That's what I tell her. Okay. In the meantime, I have about 10, not even 10 minutes in between getting off the phone with her, trying to calm her down, and the beginning of my chavrusa at 10:05 p.m. with a rabbi in Israel. Maybe when I finish this today on my way back to Passaic, I'll be on the phone with him. And so I have 10 minutes free. You know what? 10 minutes, I decide I need a little recreation. Maybe I don't need it. Maybe I want it. I'm a big Phillies fan. I'm from Philadelphia. So I turn on the Phillies game on my phone because the Phillies are playing the game of the week against the Braves. It's a big rivalry. And there's one Sunday night game of the week, so the Phillies are on. The game is tied 6-6. Okay? And in the top of the ninth inning, the Phillies have a runner on third base. There's one out. If anybody saw this replay, okay? There's a shallow fly to left field. The Phillies runner heads home. He slides in. Is very close. The catcher tags. He slides. And the umpire calls him safe. And the Braves appeal. There's instant replay in baseball now. So if you appeal, actually I think the officials asked for whoever asked for the appeal. So it goes to New York. They take it out of the hands of the umpires on the field. In New York, there's a viewing room. And umpires in New York City watch it. And they make the decision. And it's taking a really long time. Like usually it's 30 seconds, it's a minute. This was like a good, 3 minutes or so. It's taking and meantime, they're showing angle after angle after angle. I have to admit, even though I'm a Phillies fan, it did look like he was out, but you couldn't say with certainty, and that's the standard. If you're going to overturn an umpire's call, it has to be clear and convincing evidence. You have to be sure. So finally, they're listening, and the call comes back in from New York, and the umpire signal, safe. They upheld the call. The Braves manager runs out of the dugout like he's shot out of a cannon, screaming like a maniac, screaming at the umpires. And the umpires are looking, and I'm like, dude, go call New York. What do you want from us? We didn't do it. Like back in the old day when there was no instant replay, you could yell at us. You know, we just sat back like you did. They made the call. You got a beef, go yell at them. So I realized this is exactly what goes on when something bad happens. So I called my daughter back right away. I didn't tell her this whole story. She's not a baseball fan. I'll tell her this. If she's not watching, I'll tell her over the story. And I said to her, listen to me very carefully, okay? This is very important. You need to say the following 2 words. Chavivin Yisurin. Chavivin Yisurin literally means like, I love when bad things happen to me. Not because we're masochists. It's a recognition that whatever happened to me, it came from God. And the reason it's so important to say that when something bad happens is that if you don't say that, God might say, I was trying to get your attention. I was trying to send you a message. I was trying to teach you a lesson. You didn't get it. You didn't realize it came from me. So instead, I guess I'll have to do something worse. I said, so just thank God that it wasn't something worse, right? You're okay. You're in good health. The plane didn't crash. You had a horrible day. But just say, God, let it count. Because if you spend your time railing against, and there are people to be angry about, the pilot, United Airlines, the rental car company, you're missing the point. God's going, oh, by the way, that was me. What are you yelling at them for? That was me in New York. I made the call. What are you taking it out on the ump for? The Braves umpire was taking it out on the wrong person. So when we get upset at the situation, or it's somebody else when something goes wrong, God's up there going, I was sending you a lesson. What are you yelling at them for? If we have a problem, let's talk about it, okay? Let's make a list. Let's be fair, right? You're upset about what happened today, so let's make a list. Let's make a list of all the things I've done for you in your life. Let's make a list of all the things you've done for me, and let's see which is a longer list. I want to meet one person in the world who's going to tell me with a straight face that their list of things they did for God is longer than the list of things that God did for them. It's laughable. So when you realize that, it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not gonna complain to you. And that's critically important because everything comes from him. So now you'll say to me, oh yeah? What if somebody punches me in the face? What if somebody insults me? What if somebody humiliates me in public? What if somebody steals something from me? That came from God? Listen to this. This is a prayer we say before we go to sleep. This is what we're supposed to say. This is the bedtime Shema. I'm going to read it in English. This is the beginning of the first prayer we're supposed to say before we go to sleep. Master of the universe, I hereby forgive anyone who angered or antagonized me or who sinned against me, whether against my body, somebody punched me in the face, against my body, my property, somebody stole something from me, my honor, somebody embarrassed me, or against anything of mine, whether he did so accidentally, that we can understand, okay, it was an accident, I'm forgiving him, willfully, carelessly, or purposely. He did it on purpose, she did it on purpose, and I'm forgiving them. Whether through speech, they embarrassed me, deed, they did something, thought, they were planning against me, or notion, no matter what, I'm forgiving them. Don't punish anybody because of me. And the reason for that is that we're recognizing. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be a dish rag. It doesn't mean if somebody embarrasses you, you have to walk away and you can't. Don't take it out publicly. Walk over privately and try to work it out. It doesn't mean if somebody punches you in the face, you have to say, okay, I guess that came from God. Can I have another one? You can defend yourself, of course. But at the end of the day, when it's happened, you have to recognize everything that happened came from him and it's best for you. If it's good, thank you so much for giving that to me. And if it's not, Chaviv and Yisurin, I want that to count. I recognize it came from you and I want it to count. Don't do something else. I don't want to be one of Rothenberg's clients, okay? Give me traffic over a broken leg any day of the week, okay? Give me a missed flight or a delayed flight over a surgery any day that ends in a Y. Trust me on this one, okay? So, there are not too many people, unfortunately, who are counting the days that we're counting now. To the extent that you're familiar with this, in between Passover, starting on the second night, up to Shavuos, we count 49 days leading up to the 50th day Shavuos, that holiday that so few Jews know about, and we count each day. And we count up. Normally you would think we'd count down, like 40 days left, 30 days left, 20 days left. I can't wait. 8 days left. Instead, we keep counting up. It's the 3rd day, it's the 5th day, it's the 10th day, it's the 12th day, it's the 18th day. Why are we counting up? So to answer this, there was a very famous athlete here in New York named Joe Namath, Broadway Joe Namath, the quarterback of the Jets, back when the Jets were good. So it was several years ago, when they actually won a Super Bowl with Namath as the quarterback. And Namath, after winning the quarterback, becoming very, very famous, he wrote his autobiography. He did not choose the most modest title. Had he asked me, I would have told him to opt for something a little more modest. His title was, I Can't Wait Until Tomorrow, because I get better looking every day. Okay, Joe Namath, all right? That's the title of his autobiography. I can't wait until tomorrow because I get better looking every day. If you take out one word of that, one word, that title should be like our anthem. Every single one of us should be saying every day, I can't wait until tomorrow because I get better every day. I can't wait until tomorrow because I get better every day. That's our whole goal. Our whole goal of today is to be a little bit better than yesterday. Our whole goal for tomorrow is to be a little bit better than today. People will ask sometimes, you say we're supposed to pray, so I've been praying and praying and praying and praying for this thing and it didn't happen. So first of all, it might not be the best thing for you, right? Little kids pray for 27 lollipops and their parents say you could have 2, but I've been praying for 27. 27 is not good for you. God knows what's best. But also you'll say, but why should I keep praying if the answer has been no? And the answer is that if you've worked on yourself and you've done more mitzvot, you have more good deeds, it could very well be that when you stand in front of God for the 7,000th time, you're a different person than was praying the day before. You're better than the person that was praying the day before. So we're counting up because each day I'm a day better. I did some really good things today. You may have done something wrong. Okay. The fact that you even recognize it and feel bad about it and say, and I'm not going to do that again, that already has made you a bigger and better person. I'm lucky in the following sense. When I was a kid, I was a very big fan of comic books. Okay, it's possible that I still am. And in certain comic books, they had something called parallel universe. They're cute. What they do is they would have a story like, what if Batman was a bad guy? What if Lex Luthor was a good guy, okay? So I get to see the parallel universe. This is not that many people get to do this. So I thank God all the time about this, even though it's a little sad for me, part of this, but I'll explain what I mean. I have a very good friend growing up, and we went off to law school, different law schools, and I, just before law school, had spent a year in Israel, loved it, spent 2 years, talk about that a little later, and got much more serious about my Judaism. And he had kind of just fallen off. Like he had gone to day school and then just got to college and stopped doing certain things and then stopped doing more things. And it was, see ya, this thing disappeared and the tefillin disappeared and the tzitzit disappeared and Shavuos certainly disappeared and the Passover, the high holidays. And the next thing you know, he got married to a non-Jewish woman, got divorced. And so now he's the same, he's actually a year younger. He's a year younger than I am. He is wildly successful. And when we get together, he always loves to show me. I don't like to look, okay? He's like, oh, you got to see this model that I'm dating. She's 23. Okay, and that's what he wants to show me, right? And I can't bring myself to show him, let me show you the picture of my kids and my grandkids. Like, what's he going to have? What's he going to look back on? That's what he had. That's what his heart. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the guys, excuse me for a second, ladies. I'm not saying that there isn't part of me that, well, I guess she is not unattractive, okay? But at the end of the day, that's what his life is about. You're going to compare that to the time you can spend with your kids and your grandkids and your forget your legacy, forget after you're gone, while you're here. That is what it is all about. That is what it is all about. I have my youngest are 11 and a half year old twin boys. So when they turned 10, I said to them, I didn't do this with one of the older boys. I said, oh, by the way, guys, maybe you want to start learning Mishnayos together? You're 10 years old? They said, sure. I said, great. You know what? Why don't we learn 2 a night? Because it's 2 of you. You'll each read 1, and I'll help translate it. Sure. So we started learning 2 a night. I looked it up on Google. How long does it take to finish all of the Mishnayos if you do 2 a night? 6 years. I came home that night. I said, guys, I did the math. I looked it up on Rabbi Google. It takes 6 years to finish if you do 2 a day. If you do 4 a day, you could finish in 3 years, which means we could finish for your bar mitzvah. They're like, let's do it. I do 4 Mishnayos a day with them. Every single day. I have done it from many different time zones, different countries, different continents in the last year and a half. We're almost halfway done in time for the bar mitzvah. That is a legacy. But how do you explain that to somebody who's living in the moment to his next, fleeting pleasure of the next model that he's going to be dating? You can't. But if you're here living it, the contrast is, how can you compare it? I just went to I was in Nachamovel, somebody I know was lost his father, and somebody else told me the story that his father grew up not observant, became observant, and he has a brother, and his brother was very close, and his brother came to visit. He was also sitting Shiva for his brother, and he was not observant, he was still sitting Shiva, and his brother remarked, like when he saw the difference between his observant brother's family, huge family, many kids and grandkids after grandkids, and the other guy who's not observant with like a tiny little family, and he said, like, I just have to keep asking myself, why didn't I become observant? Like when you see the difference, like you see that, this side of the room is 100 people, and this side of the room is 3. Like it hits you in the face. Like maybe I should have, gone with him to those Shabbat meals. Maybe I should have thought of that. Do you know what the lowest birth rate is in the United States? The lowest birth rate in the United States of any group in the entire United States is non-observant Jewish women. It's the lowest birth rate in the United States of America. Non-observant Jewish women. It's the difference between a massive legacy and the time spent together and the bonding and making sure that you're continuing the Jewish people. I have a friend who has a very big family. He was in the park once with a lot of his kids. So he had his, his 11-year-old and his 10-year-old, his 9-year-old, his 8-year-old, his 7-year-old, his 6-year-old. Like just a ridiculous, thank God, okay? And this woman couldn't believe it. She said, they're all yours? He says, yeah. And he was still young enough, right? So she says to him, how many kids do you plan to have? So he looks at her and he says, 6 million. Okay, what are you going to say back to that, right? 6 million, okay? So that's certainly something we can do. Go out and hope, I'm going to ask my blessing to all of you. You should find your bashert and have, as one of my friends likes to say, every Jew should have, once they get married, first you should find the right person, every Jew should have one more child than they think they can handle. Okay, figure out what you think you can handle and then have one more than that, because that's our job, is to bring them back. Okay, so now I'll give you one last bit of advice, okay? So let me just ask you a question. Be honest with me. Who rules your life? If I can ask that. Who? Hashem? Hashem? Anybody else? Your wife? Okay. It's honest. We're being honest. Who else? Who else? His wife also rules your life? Your mother? Okay. Ladies? Who? Well, I didn't hear. Yourself? Okay. It's honest, right? Yourself, your wife, your mother. Sometimes people will say, my boss, God, okay? Your school, okay? Fine. Anybody willing to be honest? Anybody? Anybody willing to be honest? Nobody? Your phone? What? Who just said it? Your phone. Your phone. I mean, come on, right? It's a newborn baby. Mothers with a newborn baby, she can be sound asleep. What was that? Did the baby cry? I guess we're like, was it a tweet? Was it Facebook? Was it WhatsApp? Was it an email? What is it, my baby? Absolutely rules our life, okay? So if you want to do one thing, to turn yourself into that better person so that tomorrow you'll be better than today, there are 3 apps. Download these apps, okay? I'll send it to Rabbi Kegel. He'll send it out to you so you don't have to write this down, okay? There's Meaningful Minute. They should send out some videos every day. There's the Torah Anytime app, tons and tons of speakers. You can type in, there's one that, I'm biased, my parents like, his name is Harry Rothenberg, okay? Type in my name, you'll see I do a short weekly video, 3-4 minutes a week. And Sefiras, Sefaria, Sefaria. Sefaria has everything. You'll say, what do you mean everything? Look, it literally has everything. So you'll decide, go with your rabbi or your study partner, whatever you're close with, and figure out what's best for you. Maybe it's one Mishnah a day. Maybe it's one Jewish law a day. Maybe it's something in Jewish philosophy, something in Maimonides. Maybe it's just pick something. You're not getting off easy, okay? I don't want to hear that I downloaded it and I watch your video every week. That's great. Okay, that was 4 minutes. Now let's talk about the rest of the week, okay? Something so that every day, one Mishnah a day, one Jewish law a day, something. And you know why that's so important? I'm going to tell you why. Because when you get up to the pearly gates, they show a movie. The prosecutor comes in, okay? And the prosecutor is an extremely gifted attorney, okay? And he says, and the God says, okay, what are the charges? And the prosecutor says, you know what, Your Honor? All I need to do is show you this. And he's holding your phone, okay? And then you go to the videotape, and all they see is you wasting a ridiculous number of hours on Netflix, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Slack, on Instagram, like just nonstop. At least if you download these apps, and you spend 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, let's call it 5 minutes a day. At least then, when the defending angel gets up, okay, hopefully you'll have a good one. The defending angel could say, let's go, give me the device. The prosecutor's like, whoa, what do you mean? It says my exhibit. Give me the device. And at least the defending could say, look, they're watching a video on my Meaningful Minute. They're watching a video on Torah Anytime. They're studying something on Sefaria. You could turn the accuser into a defender. And I will finish with the following. When I decided to spend the year in Israel, it was not an easy decision. I was at Columbia. I had gotten into Harvard for law school, was well on my career track, but decided I got to figure this out. I had gone to day school. There were certain things I was doing, didn't know why I was doing them Jewishly. Other things that I wasn't doing, maybe I should be doing them. Decided to go to Israel for the year. I will tell you, I have yet to meet a single person in my life, ever, who has said, if I hadn't taken off a year to go to Israel, I could have worked 53 years and said I was only able to work 52. Oh, do I regret taking off that year? I've met countless people like me who will tell you that the year that I spent was life-changing. It's life-changing. I spent 2 years there, life-changing. There was a young woman I was dating. We were not serious at all when I got on the plane. By the time I got off the plane 2 years later, suddenly I was marriage material. And now, thank God, 8 children and many grandchildren later, it was a very, very big difference. It was a life-changing difference. It pivots you in a direction that's solid. You now understand what you represent as a Jew. You understand that you have a mission. You understand that, how did you even get here? You know what the chances are of each of you still being here after all the countries that decided to try to kill us, and you're here because God has a plan. And every single one of you, there's never been a person exactly like you, and there never will be a person like you. You have a mission on behalf of the Jewish people. It changes the person that you're going to marry. Going from like, I'd prefer somebody Jewish to like, what do you mean? Of course, I want somebody Jewish, somebody who's going to, run a Jewish household and is going to be important to Jewish identity. He's going to send my kids we're going to send our kids to Jewish schools. It changes everything about you. And so I'll finish with one last story, which is completely, ridiculously politically incorrect. So it happened many years ago when you could still do things or say things that were politically incorrect. I'll just give you that warning. And here's the story. So we were in the backyard in our house, and I was probably, 8 years old, and my younger sister, who's a year younger than me, 16 months younger than me, was 7 years old, roughly, and we're having a catch with my father. And my father's getting increasingly frustrated, okay? Until finally he can't take it any longer. He says, for crying out loud, Randy, it's my sister's name, you throw like a girl. So Randy, she's a little kid, and her lower lip starts quivering. She says, Dad, I am a girl. To which he responds, that's no excuse. What do you mean? Just because you're a girl, you can't learn how to throw like a boy. Again, it's politically incorrect. Throw with fluidity, whatever exactly he meant, okay? Like, it's not an excuse. So that's what you have to ask yourself every day. You have to ask yourself, do you want to make excuses or do you want to make history? And so we're counting on you because we want to see you all make history. And so to summarize, we didn't just get traded. We didn't just get a different boss. We got the ultimate boss. Everything he does is exactly calibrated to be the best thing for us, whether it's good or bad. It's always good. It may seem like bad. Even if it seems like bad, it was good. It came from him, calibrated for us. We have to work on getting better every day. I can't wait till tomorrow because I get better every day. We count up because we want to show that we're improving. Hopefully you'll all find your bashert and then add to the Jewish people. Take control of your phone in order to take control of your life. Try to download those apps and use them so you could turn it, instead of an accusing device, you could turn it into a defending device. And in the end, figure out your mission and make history rather than making excuses. Thank you very much for listening, and thanks for coming out. And Hatzlacha.